Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are you guys doing? Hope you're having a fantastic Friday evening. First off, I got to congratulate the Washington Capitals and Alexander Ovechkin, the Great Eight, on winning the Stanley Cup Final last night. That was fantastic. I'm very happy that they were able to get it. I mean, Alexander, he really deserves it. That was amazing. But let's move on to this Xfinity Series race this weekend at Michigan International Raceway, and my gosh, we went from Pocono, probably the worst track on the schedule, to tomorrow, which can possibly be the best race of the year and probably the best Xfinity race in a long, long time. And if you guys haven't seen practice or anything, it's gonna be an amazing race. It's gonna be a hybrid of a plate race, pretty much, of a Daytona Talladega like plate race. Where it's not exactly going to be just four lines of cars in a huge pack, but there will certainly be packs. It's going to be crazy. You're going to easily see four wide coming down the start-finish line multiple times in the race. I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be one of the best races to watch this year. It's going to absolutely be absolutely amazing. So, as always, this is up before qualifying, so I do not know the qualifying order and where they're going to start, so use that to take your picks, but I'm going to give you my options and opinions of the cars and what I think the race is going to be. So let's get into it, guys. Also, like I said before, transitioning to a all DFS channel. I will have a Patreon up in soon time. Hopefully it'll be up within the next week or whatnot. But if you guys would like to donate before and help me out, help me produce the best content I can for you guys, PayPal is in the description if you guys would like to donate. Anything helps. With that out of the way, let's get down to the breakdown for this Xfinity Series race. So they're running their same package that they ran at Pocono and that the Cup guys ran at the All-Star race, and like I said before, I didn't think Pocono was the right track for this setup, but Michigan is certainly that. I think it's going to be a lot like IndyCar at Auto Club quite a few years back. I think it was in 2012 or 2013 when IndyCar went to Auto Club. Maybe not that extreme. It won't have the speed differences that the IndyCars had or like that type of draft, but it's certainly going to be wild and it's going to be crazy. It's going to be a great race to watch. It might not be the most fun to place entries on. It's going to be pretty crazy. If you're comfortable with lighting money on fire, feel free to do it. I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be entering it, and hopefully we can have the right lineup. Like I said before, guys, certainly these tracks and how this package is going to play out, it's going to take a lot more just luck and good fortune on your entries than just lining up who you think is going to be the best. I think we're going to have some wrecks, and there might even be some big wrecks. So it's going to be interesting. I think turn 2 on Michigan will be the trickiest part. Brandon Jones and Justin Allgaier spun out in final practice in turns 3 and 4, and they weren't even connected with each other. Brandon Jones got sideways. He nearly got into the wall really rough. He kind of scraped it with the left rear of his car, and then Justin Allgaier spun out to avoid him. No damage, no huge damage to either cars. I don't expect them to go to a backup car. But these guys really weren't even in a pack, and they lost their cars. They just got aero loose, so we'll just have to wait and see how they perform in the racetrack. But as I was going to say, turn 2, I think we're going to at least have 2 cautions coming out of turn 2 that change from the banking and that long arcing corner down to the straightaway on the backstretch. I think that's going to be real tricky, especially if we're 3 wide. I think the outside is going to run out of room, and someone's either going to end up in the fence or the car in the middle lane is going to come up into the car on the outside. So I think turn 2 is going to be pretty gnarly tomorrow. Like I said, it's going to be playing like a hybrid Talladega or Daytona, so you're going to have pack racing. I think the way you enter it's completely the opposite of last week. Last week I was saying pick guys starting up in the front because they're not going to lose you a whole lot of positions. This time I think we're going to go more to like a super speedway entry with maybe one guy who you think is going to lead the most amount of laps in the front. Whether that be Kyle Busch or Harvick or one of those guys, maybe the pole sitter. I'd rather see. I want to see who gets the pole and how they were in final practice. And if I like the guy who, for example, if someone gets the pole and he was running like 7th in final practice, and the guy that was averaging like 2nd in the practices and speed-wise qualifies 2nd, I'm probably going to go with him over the pole sitter. But that's just me. Everyone else, I think you can run some back markers. For example, the 45. Josh Belichick, whatever you want to call him. I think he's going to be pretty gnarly, pretty high owned. He was really slow in practice. That's the 45. Practice 1 37th quickest, practice 2 32nd quickest. But he's been qualifying like trash with this lineup. Like last week, he started in the back and finished 29th. At Pocono, Charlotte finished 25th. I think if he qualifies really bad, which from the speed I think he will, I think if he qualifies 38th or 37th, the 45 is definitely a good punt, a good play. Same with Josh Williams in the 90 car. Those are just the ones that are off the top of my head that seem to qualify and not very good with this package. They just don't have the speed by themselves, but the draft is the best equalizer for these drivers. Going down practice 1, you had Kyle Busch fastest. You had John Hunter Nemechek second fastest. Justin Allgaier third fastest. Who's fourth? Who's in fourth? Oh, wow, I lost who was in fourth. Can't find fourth. Elliott Sadler was fifth. I don't think I wrote it down. Who was in fourth? Anyway, well, those are four your top five. I mean, Kyle Busch certainly looks like he has one of the better cars. I mean, he was throwing moves left and right that were throwing the guys up in the booth during practice. He was throwing them. He was making them go crazy. Like, oh my God, Kyle Busch is darting down from the outside to the inside. It's like, yeah, that's what happens when you got a good-looking car. So Kyle Busch is definitely going to be a guy that I'd want to go with, and I'd almost rather go with Kyle Busch over than Harvick, just because I think Kyle Busch is going to be leading a lot of laps. I love Justin Allgaier. He has been really crappy and has burned a lot of people the last 2 weeks, including myself on some entries. But I really like Justin Allgaier today. As I say before, he's usually pretty volatile, but I really like him in this situation. Then you got Elliott Sadler. Elliott Sadler certainly in play. He's just going to be a little bit too expensive. So maybe if you go Kyle, I know a lot of people are going to go Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. They're going to have them in the same lineup, or they're going to fade them both. I think if you could maybe go Kyle Busch and Justin Allgaier, Kyle Busch and Elliott Sadler, I think that is where it's going to be at the end of the race. I don't think it's worth really putting Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick together. And with the Xfinity Series, I always go just from money down, going from the toppest to lowest. With the Cup Series, I always look at the drivers starting from last up to first with their qualifying position. So that's why I'm starting with these guys. Christopher Bell also looked fast, but he really didn't run with the pack the last practice he did here and there. He was 20th fastest at the end of final practice, but I think that was just due to the draft. I mean, a lot of these times are due to draft guys. So if you're looking at practice speed, that's not telling you the whole story. Don't just go off of who was fastest in both these practices, because Austin Dillon was fastest at the end of final practice, but I do not believe he has the fastest car. I think he was just in a really good place on the track. But you got Christopher Bell, your fifth most expensive guy. I don't really see Christopher Bell being viable here. Like I said, I think most of your money is going to be going to Kyle Busch, Elliott Sadler, Justin Allgaier, or even Kevin Harvick, even though I'm not going to go that route unless Harvick starts first. Cole Custer. Cole Custer had a really nice car. I think Cole Custer may have been fourth at the end of the first practice. I could be completely wrong. Because I don't have a fourth here. I could have sworn Cole Custer was there, but I guess not. Anyway, Cole Custer was running up the pack. He looks pretty all right, but for $9,400, not really where I want to go. Alex Bowman driving number 23 for Spencer Gallagher due to him being removed due to doing some hardcore heroin. Okay, maybe not heroin, but certainly some type of substance. So Alex Bowman is driving that. Last week was Chase Elliott. And then you got Paul Menard in the 22, which is very interesting. Last time I faded Paul Menard in the series, and I didn't really get wrecked for it, but he did a lot better than I thought he would. He was 10th fastest first practice, 13th fastest at the end of final practice. I really like him. He did 33 laps, which is some of the most out of everyone in the first practice. I like Paul Menard this week, especially if he starts, let's say like 12th or something. It's going to be really tough. I haven't looked at making a lineup with Kyle Busch and one of the Junior Motorsports cars, but I doubt that's going to leave you a lot of money. But then you got Tyler Reddick, $9,000. I don't think he's really worth. I mean, he's been consistent. His worst finishes this year has been 23rd, but he's been starting in the top 10 really, so he's not really worth me looking at. Daniel Hemrick, RCR has been really fishy this year. They've been qualifying really bad these last couple weeks and finishing really good. I like Daniel Hemrick. RCR cars are always good on plate tracks, and this one's certainly going to be looking like a plate race tomorrow. If Hemrick and RCR qualify outside the top 15 like they have these last weeks, I'm definitely going to go with those guys again. Hemrick at 88 and Matt Tiff at 8100. I'll try and fit them in if they qualify pretty bad. John Hunter Nemechek, a guy who had been priced really high previously in DraftKings, but they have lowered his prices due to his finishing positions, because the last 3 races he's done, he skipped Charlotte. But the last 3 he did was Pocono, Dover, and Dega. Well, Dega don't really count as a track. So taking Dega out, he's finished 7th Pocono, 14th Dover, 13th at Richmond, and 13th at Bristol. And he's been starting in the top 5, in the top 6, depending on what track it was, and he'd end up finishing bad, so he was end up losing your points. I don't really like John Hunter Nemechek unless he starts in the back. Brennan Jones, like I said, he spun out at the end of final practice, didn't really tear the car up. I don't expect him to go to a backup car. I really like Brandon Jones. He was running with Kyle Busch the whole time in most of the practices. The Joe Gibbs cars are all running together. Brennan Jones, he said he had a really good car together. He just got loose. It just came out from under him. And I think that's going to happen to quite a few guys tomorrow, so I'm not really concerned about that. It's going to happen to other people in the race. Might not even happen to Brandon Jones again. He's lucky because he's felt it. He knows what it feels like. He's been through it once, so I actually have more confidence in Brandon Jones not wrecking tomorrow. Hopefully he qualifies 13th or 14th as his practice speeds might suggest, and I'm giving him some odds. I'm giving him some help because he was 16th fastest first practice, 19th fastest second practice. You got Austin Dillon and RCR car in the top 10 on both speeds and practices. I think Austin Dillon might actually qualify in the top 5. If that's the case, I'm not going to be playing Austin Dillon. If he qualifies outside the top 5, I'll probably be using Austin Dillon. Like I said, guys, it all depends. With Xfinity, you have to watch qualifying to just see how they run. It's going to be boring tomorrow with single car runs, but I think that really helps you. You can see the difference of speeds and just if someone messes it up. I think, man, tomorrow's just going to be an awesome day. I think if you don't really watch Xfinity races, I think you're going to make it a huge mistake by not watching this one tomorrow. But Ryan Reed, I like Ryan Reed on plate tracks. Hopefully he qualifies outside top 10. I really like Ryan Reed. Ryan Truex, I really like him as well. He's been running really good the last 2 weeks, and momentum is huge in this. I'm liking Ryan Truex a lot. I don't like Austin Cindric. I really don't. I don't really trust this guy any farther than I can throw him. And I don't really like Roush lately. There's just better guys out there than Austin Cindric, so I'm not going to look at Austin Cindric unless he qualifies bad. I mean, I'm going to just use that. Unless someone absolutely craps the bucket on qualifying, I don't really like him. Garrett Smithley been running really good, having some better finishing positions than where he's been starting. I think Garrett's been starting in the 40th, like close to 40 these last couple of weeks. I could be wrong. I don't have the starting positions on me, but he's if he's starting that far back, he's certainly in play. Michael Annett, he's always cheap. He's always around 7,200. I really like him. Junior Motorsports cars are always awesome on plate tracks, and Michael Annett really looked like he had a good car from what I was looking at. I just like Junior Motorsports cars on these types of tracks. So hopefully Michael Annett does a Michael Annett and qualifies 22nd, and I'm so gonna be using Michael Annett. Ross Chastain and Garrett Smithley fall into the same category. I think whoever starts farther back, I'm gonna be using out of these two. If I have enough money to use them. I mean, they're right by each other in price, just $300 difference, so just see how qualifying plays out. I like them both. Kaz Grala, I like him. He's been running good these last 2 weeks with Fury Motorsports, and he's been qualifying up there a little bit more than what I thought he would be. He's actually running better with these cars than he did the previous half of the season. I don't think DraftKings has really paid attention to that, or I'm sure they have, but they haven't increased his price. I like Kaz Grala. I think he's a value play at 6,900. I think he should be closer to 77. So that's just me. I like Kaz Grala. I think he's low on the cash. Ryan Siege, not too crazy about him. I just don't like him. I think there's better guys out there. Jeremy Clements, don't like him a whole lot either unless he qualifies in the back. I don't think I'll be using these 3 guys unless it absolutely comes to it. JJ Yaley going to be a start and park. He only runs short tracks, so be aware of that. Alex Labay, if he qualifies 26th, 25th, I like him. If he doesn't, I'm not a huge fan. Joey Gaze, I really like Joey Gaze. He was a good play at Pocono. I played him there. He's been doing really good. I actually haven't really noticed him the last weeks before Pocono, but I certainly like Joey Gaze. Um, he hasn't really been qualifying that fast. I like him if he starts inside the top 30, like 29th, 28th, 30th, 31st. Joey Gaze, I like you. Vinny Miller, I think he's in the 8 car. I could be wrong. Let me just look at the. Let me make sure he's in the 8 car. 8 car, 8 car, 8 car. Do do do, Vinny Miller. Do do do, do do do, do do do. Vinny Miller. No, he's in the 1 car. 1 car. My bad. My bad. I get him and Tommy Joe Martins mixed up for some weird reason. I think they're in the separate cars. Vinny's certainly good if he qualifies in the back, although he hasn't been really showing. He's been qualifying 30th, 32nd, 25th, 25th. No, never mind. I don't like Vinny Miller whatsoever. He does not show the speed. 29th fastest, 28th fastest in the 2 practices respectively. Dylan Lepton. I think Dylan Lepton actually got fired. Yeah, Dylan Lepton got fired by his team, or at least he's no longer employed by him. He's on Draftkings entries, but he's not in the race, and he's very pissed off on Twitter. I saw a couple things on that. So Dylan Lepton not even in the race. Joe Nemechek, front row Joe, if he qualifies in the back, I like him, especially on plate tracks. I just like front row Joe on plate tracks. He's shown over the years. I'm comfortable playing Joe if he starts from the back on these types of tracks for 5,800. Josh Williams, I already told you I like Josh Williams. For 5,700, I like Josh Bullock for 5,600. I think you could actually throw Josh Williams and Nemechek in one lineup and then take 3 studs or 2 studs and one guy in 8. Just going by my math randomly in my head. Hopefully that's right. Hopefully those 3 guys start in the back. Those will definitely be my punts. The same with Tommy Joe Martins. I like him. Actually, these 4 guys are probably the punts that I'm going to be using tomorrow, just based on how they usually qualify here and how they run. So the 8 car, Tommy Joe Martins. Let me just make sure he's in the 8 car. Don't want to be telling you guys the wrong thing. Where are you? Yeah, Tommy Joe Martins. He's in the 78. What? Oh, he's been in the 8 car. Okay, well, he's in the 78 this week. I know Tommy's been in the 8 car. Maybe there isn't an 8 car this week, because I know he's been licensed out by whoever owns a 78. Anyway, Joe Nemechek, Josh Williams, Josh Bilick, and Tommy Joe Martins probably my punts. David Starr, he's been actually finishing races. He was a start in park. David Starr is also in that, so we got Nemechek, Williams, Bilick, Martins, and David Starr as the punts. Brandon Hightower, not really sure how he's going to run. Not too crazy on that. I think he ran at Charlotte, and he got, let's see, he ran Pocono, he got 18 points. Charlotte got 29 points, started 38th and 29th respectively. I think there's other guys that'll go farther than him. I'm not too crazy on Brandon Hightower or Spencer Boyd. Not too crazy about him, although he does have a 28th and a 21st in the last 2 races. Not too crazy about Spencer. Chad Fitchum, not too crazy. Starting park. Same with Timmy Hill. I like Carl Long and Carl Long Motorsports, but these 2 guys, I'm not too crazy about them in fantasy. Cesar Barcelona. Who the hell is this guy? He raced in the Power Squares 250. He's in the 8 car. He's in the 8 car this week. Okay, interesting. Very, very interesting. He started 30th at Daytona, finished 13th, had 49 points for 4,700. Now that could be very interesting. Very, very interesting. 30th quickest. Oh, I did not know this. The 8 car, Caesar, 30th quickest in first practice, 30th quickest in second practice. If that's the speed, I think he might start 32nd, 31st, and if this turns into a wreckfest, Caesar could be an amazing play. For 4,700, it's almost worth the risk of just starting him. He's in the 8 car. That's what Tommy Joe Martins have been running in this whole year, and that's been a good car for him. I might actually play Caesar. I got to see how he qualifies. I want to see what type of speed he has on his own, but now I'm really liking Caesar for that price. And then you get to draft Jeff Green and Morgan Shepherd, and those 2 guys are starting parks, so I'm not going to be using those 2. So my punts will probably be at least starting, and these are not solidified, but these are guys I'm going to be looking at in qualifying. Caesar in the 8 car, David Starr, whatever car he's in, Tommy Joe Martins, Josh Bilick, Josh Williams, and Joe Nemechek. Those are my punts in the back that I'm going to be looking at. And I think that's really going to be important when you're trying to put Kyle Busch, Elliott Sadler, Justin Allgaier, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick in some lineups. So that's 1, 2, 3. That's top 4 most expensive guys, and I just gave you 5 or 6 cheap guys on the bottom. I think that's going to be really useful tomorrow. Hopefully, not a lot of people do that, and then maybe you can throw in like a Matt Tiff, Ryan Reed, Michael Annett in there to have a little different lineup. I'm really looking forward for tomorrow, guys, and this is going to be an amazing race. I hope you guys, I hope you guys cash. I hope we have an amazing race. Hopefully nothing crazy happens in the race. And thanks for tuning in to this session of the Brandon Cruz Daily Fantasy Podcast. Next podcast for the Cup Series will be up tomorrow after the Xfinity race. And thanks for listening, guys. Hopefully this helps you out. Like I said, can't really help you that much since it's before qualifying, but I don't have enough time to make a video before qualifying and get it all up there. And everyone else, you guys can be building your lineups after qualifying anyway, so this just gives you a good start. Remember, it's going to be a hybrid super speedway race. It can be one of two things: going to be a wreckfest or going to be a really interesting race that a lot of people are going to be passing each other. I might make a couple lineups going on both those, a wreckfest and a hard close race. So hopefully we just pick right guys, and hopefully you win in whatever you're doing, cash, GPP, whatever you guys do. Best of luck to all you guys. See you guys on the slates. Peace out.